Welcome to the Builders Podcast, episode 45. Meet Alexandra Spalato, building websites using Headless CMS, Gatsby, and more. Before we dig into this episode, please subscribe to this podcast and give us a thumbs up or a like if we've earned it. Doing that will help us reach more people and deliver these valuable from the trenches lessons to those that can benefit. Let's not waste any more time. Let's dive right in. We'll just start by laughing. This is the beginning of the episode. We're just laughing. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode. Today, we have with us Alexandra Spalato.
Spalato.
I'm already messing you up. Alexandra Spalato. And she is somebody I met or was introduced to on Twitter, of all places. Mm-hmm. Yes. And
by Bridget.
So that's about all I know about her.
By Bridget Wheeler.
By Bridget.
Yes, who take care of my Twitter marketing. She's amazing.
Yeah. And we're actually having her on later this week. So she introduced me to you and one other person. And then I said, what about you? Are you going to be on the podcast too? And she said, okay. So yeah, I've been on Twitter for years, but I haven't, business-wise or anything, I don't know. I haven't done a whole lot there. Like I haven't done a lot of networking and stuff. I mean, I'm more of a LinkedIn guy that way, but I'm hoping in 2022, I'm going to do more. Maybe this is the beginning of that. Oh. Anyway, enough about me. Okay. So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from and, kind of how what you do today, and then we'll kind of go back from there and see what your origin was and talk about your journey a little bit.
Okay. So as you can hear, perhaps I'm French and I'm Spanish, and I live in Spain, in the island of Mallorca, which is a really beautiful place. And I have lived in many places in Croatia. And now what I do, I'm specialized in Jamstack, especially in headless WordPress, but in Jamstack in general. And I have just launched, just a few months ago, my first product named Gatsby WP Themes, were premium themes with WordPress backend and frontend in Gatsby. So it allows the easiness of the WordPress backend for editors, and it's 40% of the web, and the speed and developer experience and security, flexibility that the Jamstack and Gatsby brings. And we are also thinking to expand to other platforms than WordPress, because this market is very new and there is almost no premium themes on this market. And when I'm not working on the themes, I do freelancing work in this area. And I'm about to launch also my agency specialized in Jamstack. So a lot of things, very busy.
That's awesome. Yeah. No, that's good. It's good to keep busy. Entrepreneurs, business people, we need to keep ourselves busy.
Yes.
We don't want to be bored. Always thinking about the next thing we're going to do. So
exactly.
So awesome. Yeah. Listening to your story, like you're saying, you lived over here, you lived over there. Like I hear people say that. I just feel like I just had this really boring life. I've always lived in Wisconsin.
Oh, come to Mallorca. You will not want to leave. I can assure you.
I may take you up on that someday. I've had invitations all over the world. So yeah, okay. Come to India, come to Philippines, come to New Zealand. I'm gonna have to. When I retire, maybe I'll just come visit everybody and take everyone up on that.
Is special because it's a concentration of good things. So there is people from all over the world, because if you come here and you're a traveler, if you can stay, you stay. You will see.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of places like that, and that's probably one of them where I would go and be like, I don't want to go back to Wisconsin.
Exactly. I don't know Wisconsin. Sorry.
There's not much to know about it. Milwaukee, beer, we eat a lot of cheese. That's about it. We don't have beautiful mountains. We have a lake. We're right by the Great Lakes, a few miles from the Great Lakes. But yeah, that's not too much to report. So, kind of in terms of how did you become interested in starting your own business? Did you work for anybody else? How did that journey happen? To where you landed today? Did you have other businesses, or tell me a little bit about that?
The third thing is I cannot work for people. That's very deep in me. Freedom and being independent. I think it's this that bring me even to web development, because I began very late in this area. It was 10 years ago, and I had no clue of that. And it was because I realized that it's something that I can do by myself, be a freelancer, and that I can learn. And I love learning and being independent. It's two things super important for me. And so I discovered web development and begin freelancing. But deeply in me, I always wanted to create something, because what bring me in web development, a lot of people will say it's problem solving, etc. Me, it's more creation. It's I discover a tool and you can create anything with it with code. And I didn't know I would become a coder. I was more thinking about design. And actually, I'm a mix between a web developer, a designer, and an entrepreneur. So I'm not 100% developer. So I was an entrepreneur since the beginning, because when you are a freelancer, you are an entrepreneur. And I had this idea, I want to create something, but you need the skills to create that. And I began with WordPress. So first I was thinking to create WordPress themes, as I have these skills of design and development. But the WordPress theme market was already crowded when I began, so it was too late for that. So I continued my path, and then I learned JavaScript and React, and I discovered Gatsby. And the first thing, we created the first free themes, WordPress Gatsby with Zach Gordon. We port some free themes from WordPress to Gatsby. And after that, I thought, okay, but it would be really nice to make some premium themes, WordPress Gatsby, and the market is virgin. So yes, it's a niche, but there is nobody. So great. So it was about 2 years ago, and I searched for a partner because it's not easy to begin alone. So I found Paulina Hetman that I knew before, and I have been very lucky because it's really a flow between us. We are complementary. She's super talented, but I'm the one talking here in podcast, and I'm the extrovert one, and she's the introvert, and she likes writing and all this stuff. She does the documentation. She found the bugs that I don't find, and I run the business. So we are really, really a great combination. And after for the technical decisions, most of the time we agree, which is really a bless, because I imagine it's not always the case to find really the right partner. So
just to interject, I think that alone, is a big accomplishment. I've known, I've had partners in the past. I've known other entrepreneurs or people that have had founded companies or done stuff with a partner. It's tricky, because you have to have you have to complement each other on one hand, but at the same time not overlap, or like complement each other's. Each of you brings something different to the plate. Like you're working on the business, you're doing this, you're doing all that stuff, and that's your thing, and your partner's doing other things. So that's really, really good.
We both do development and design, but she do things in development that I cannot do, and I do things in business that she cannot do, and so we have things that we do both, and things that we do each one different things. but we agree that's very important, because if we begin to have different visions, then
Right.
it can,
You have to.
can break.
Yeah, right. You don't want to diverge that way. Yeah. Yeah, and the other thing that I noted too is that you have this. I don't know if it's that unique, because I've known a lot of developers that also have design skills.
Yeah,
You know, but they just prefer one. They just prefer one or the over the other. Like I too do design. I'm probably 90% a developer, but I do design as well, or have, and then I also have that entrepreneur. So I got that interesting mix too. I guess as a founder, that's very helpful.
Yes.
When you have people working for you and specializing, that's a little different. But so that's it's an interesting balance. Is that what was your? How did you learn this stuff? Did you work for somebody else, or did you learn it kind of do it yourself on the fly?
Totally on the fly. It happens that I begin out of the blue. I had no idea that I will end up doing that. I begin with WordPress, and when I say I have design skill, it's not technical skills, it's natural. I know what is beautiful, to say sense of colors, fonts, but I'm not a true designer. I'm not good with the design tools. I have to dig into that, but I have never time, because I'm always in development, and I end up styling, and designing with the code, which is not the best way, but I have to take the time on that now that I do these themes, because now it becomes really important. So I was thinking more about design at the beginning, and I was using WordPress themes, and it was easy because when you have sense-on design and you take a theme, it's very easy to make something nice. Because if you don't have these design skills, even taking a nice theme, people can screw it up totally because they don't see the colors and the fonts and, and things like that. So that makes my beginning very easy, because when you show something nice, okay, you can have clients very quickly, because working with theme in the beginning, it's easy. But so I immediately begin having work. And that's very important, because you practice. And I began working with an agency in Paris, but as freelancer. I was just installing for them the theme and configuring it and giving to the interns to have content. But quickly you get bored of that. So quickly, okay, I want to modify things in the theme. And then you begin learning a bit of HTML and CSS. And so, oh, nice, and you're excited. And then you get bored again. And so I want to make my own WordPress themes. And wow, the first time you succeed and find the right tutorial, because it was a war to finding the right way to do it. And then for several years, I have been doing custom WordPress themes. People was giving me the design and I was doing it. But of course, having this design skill helps to make a good job, because your eyes can see that it's good or bad, or sometimes the client give you a bad design and you say, I could do better, but you cannot because you want this design. So, and then I get bored again. So
this is a theme. I'm going to write down this theme. She gets bored a lot.
Yes, I get bored, and so I need things that to entertain me, and that's very that's great in development, because you cannot never be bored, because you have always new things to learn. And then I did a JavaScript bootcamp, and I learned JavaScript and React, and then I discovered Gatsby, and here I am. But the difference with design, yes, I was thinking about design. Design and development require two different types of patience. And patience is not my best skill. So, to be honest, I have to use it, but it's not my best skill. And so in design, it's really tweaking each little pixel, and there is something manual finally about design, even if you are in the computer, and I'm not manual at all. while development requires a lot of patience too, when you pull your hair out and you bang your head against the wall. But when you find the solution, it's wow. And so you really struggle and suffer to have this epiphany, this moment when you find the solution. And yes, and you can create anything with code finally, so you can go further than design. And so for a creative person, it's nice, but I need to make things look nice. That's also good with it. So this is my mix, and this is how it works. I'm more a right brain than a left brain. That is not common either in developers. So I need the global vision, and I'm a creative. So this is how it works for me.
Yeah.
Between design and development.
Yeah, I think it's, I can relate to that. I like to be challenged. I like to be in having those breakthroughs. I mean, I've had lots and lots of experience coding as well. And when you're working on a problem that seems almost impossible, you're like, I don't even know how this is, if I can even do this. But rarely have I ever not figured something out. There's always a solution. It's just, looking at the screen long enough till it just presents itself. Or Googling enough.
Or go to sleep and come back the next day.
Right. Well, it's people, it's funny that people joke about that, but it's actually true. Sometimes you just need to either walk away for a while or sleep on it, and next day you come, and for some reason within 5 minutes you got the solution. Totally.
If you stay on the problem, I think the brain needs to wander and wandering and then it find it. And for me, my mind is much more clear in the morning than in the evening. So when I wake up, it's a good moment to find the solution.
Yeah, I don't know if my mind's ever clear. I'm just gotta always. So let's kind of segue into. Well, first of all, before I do that, there's one other thing that I took away from this too, and which is really, really interesting because I think about it a lot because I'm actually coming on with a new product next year as well, and it's a plugin, and it's not anything fancy like Gatsby or Headless or anything, but at the same time, and I've had experience. I have sold themes before. I was built a WordPress marketplace called Hexeter, which I phased out this year. But I built it at another company. I acquired it and then I phased it out. It's a long story. But close that chapter, but open a new chapter. A big part of that's just due to all the changes happening at WordPress and how things are moving. But through all that, when you said that you were thinking about doing WordPress themes, but it was already basically saturated. That you were looking for something like it's crowded. There's obviously a ton of competition. Everyone's doing stuff. Like I think about right now, like this next year, I thought, I can make a block plugin, but everyone's making block plugins. That's boring. You need to do something more. You need to do something more unique.
Yes.
I just thought I'd highlight that because I think it's understanding what your unique position is, or taking advantage of new technologies or new things and being the first in a space or leading that space is powerful. I think it's something that gets people's attention, and you have it's easy to sell that too. A little easier to. You got anything else to say about that, or is that just something that naturally always thought about?
It's an opportunity, and I don't think this type of opportunity happens all the time. I think about the first people who have developed iPhone apps. They have done simple apps and everything is running. That's the good side, but the downside is that you are a pioneer, so you are experimenting things, and it's not always easy. You are opening the path, and also it's a niche market. So yes, I really believe in this product and in the future, but
Yeah.
it will become slowly, and I think the Jamstack in the future, but it takes its time. So that's
And that's something you also
downsides and
right.
pros and cons. So I'm super happy to be here and to be the first. I think it's a huge opportunity, but there is this downside technically.
Well, part of it is communicating it too. I mean, if it's so new, it's hard to just describe to, I'm sure, a client or anybody that has it, like, you need this, like, why? And you have to get into the technical reasons why, and their eyes glaze over. And but yeah, we'll get into that a little bit more. But yeah, so like my product next year. So I'm not quite as far ahead as you, or like in a new arena, but I do embrace like the whole block thing, because I'm going to create a block theme, and that's kind of a very new thing. I'm not one to stay behind. I don't want to stay in classic editor forever, like I know some agencies do or whatever. I want to be ahead, and I want to be really embracing blocks and doing everything around that. But there's other things we're doing alongside that. But so tell me a little bit. So you've mentioned Jamstack, Gatsby, Headless. Maybe you've mentioned Headless. And so I thought we'd kind of segue into this a little bit, so those listening understand what that even is, and maybe this is we can help the world learn about it, so you can build more stuff using it.
Yes, of course.
First of all, what is, so there's Headless, and I know now Matt Mullenweg. I remember listening to him a couple years ago. I'm sure it was at like one of his end of the year. State of the Words or something. And he referenced it as, so this is something for me too, because I know about it. I don't know a lot about it. I've worked in some headless environments, but I haven't developed anything from scratch.
Okay, so you have to try our themes.
Yeah, I might.
We have released a free one now, so you can try. Yeah.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay. I'll be stopping over there later today. Okay, so headless versus decoupled, though. What is decoupled architecture? Because he didn't seem to like the word headless, and maybe it was just in the context of WordPress. But do you have? I've read up on this, and I'm trying to understand the difference between decoupled. I think it's just decoupling the front end, the presentation from the back end stuff. Maybe that's literally what it is, but headless can be more API oriented. Is that?
I honestly, I have read something lastly about the difference between headless and decoupled, but I didn't know there was really a difference. So, but headless CMS can be for WordPress, but for now there is a lot of headless CMS by nature. They are. Yes, I think. Headless, it's only for CMSs, while decoupled can be CMSs or just an API. I think, but I'm not sure.
I think this is one of those things where people are still trying to figure out what the definitions of these, and everyone's got a different idea.
Anyway, for WordPress or Headless CMS, it just means that your data, your backend is decoupled from the front end. So in the case of WordPress and Gatsby, WordPress become only a database in the backend. So we have the editor, we have everything. We register our posts, our pages, so our custom fields, they go into the WordPress database. And then we use WP GraphQL, so to have a GraphQL API, and we get this data. And we use Gatsby to get it. Then we make a build, and we have a static website, which is totally decoupled from the WordPress backend. Apart, for example, for comments. The comments are calling WordPress, but the other things are static. And basically, your WordPress site can be down. Gatsby will be up. And yes, that's
pulling the data.
that's nice, because that's very important. So it's never down. And you host WordPress in a place and Gatsby in another, hosted on Gatsby Cloud or Netlify, for example. You can even keep in the more extreme case, you can keep WordPress on your local and then make a build, take the static files and send in on Netlify or whatever, the CDN. So that's not very practical, but it's possible. So to make it clear, it's really separate. And then there is a lot of other headless CMS. There is tons of headless CMS, and we plan to do other to expand to other platforms like Strapi, Contentful. That seems really, really nice, but there is dozens of them now, I think. So even e-commerce, there is also a platform for headless CMS for e-commerce. You can do headless with Shopify or e-commerce that we plan to do also.
Can you?
Yes,
really?
you can.
Okay.
Of course, yes, there's even a plugin, Gatsby source Shopify, for example. So, and for example, big commerce, they really focus on headless too. So they have the CMS, but you can use it as headless. And then there is e-commerce platforms that are totally headless, that are just to build your API.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah. So some are just built just to be headless. They don't have a front end.
Mm-hmm.
Really.
Yes.
So what are the benefits of having a headless setup? I would imagine speed is one of those.
Yes.
Speed is something that I, as a developer, and my clients are very interested in, especially from a mobile perspective, from SEO perspective, and just bounce rates perspective. They don't. No client wants their website to be taken 5 seconds to load these days. And with WordPress, it can get, depending on, and the same with Shopify. I have Shopify clients as well who have challenges in the speed department, and it has a lot to do with the plugins they use or the apps or how the site is built in general. So there's challenges there, but headless, I would imagine, because you're using these more JavaScript frameworks and Gatsby, I imagine it's pretty quick. That's one thing. Got anything more to say about that, or what other benefits do you see?
First, yes, speed is very important, especially now that Google has put the Web Core Vitals as a criteria to rank you on Google. So it's even sometimes you think your website is fast, but these Web Core Vitals, they are measuring around the world, people with low phones performance, and then you think your website is fast and the results are not so good. So with our themes, now with the free themes, and now we have upgrade to Gatsby 4, and we are passing everything on Tailwind, and we arrive at 95% or 100% of speed on the Core Web Vitals, which is really, really
fantastic,
great. Yeah. Without doing a big work of caching and all the things you have to do in WordPress, you can also have very fast website, but it's harder to maintain. So now with the new rules of Google, it becomes speed has become even more important than before. So that's the first thing. Second thing is security. So your database is no more exposed, so people cannot hack your website. And WordPress has a lot of hacks because it's 40% of the web, and also because it's so open and there is so much plugin, and people who are not developers that put all these plugin together and don't know how to handle security, so they are hacked very easily. Here we don't have this problem. I was saying, as I was saying before, your WordPress platform can be down and Gatsby can be up. So the hackers have no access and even don't know that you are using WordPress.
That's awesome. That's actually really cool. Nice. Because WordPress is definitely a target.
Yes, that's the thing. And then the flexibility, we're mentioning Shopify. So for example, I can have my content and my blog on WordPress because it's really nice for editing, but perhaps I prefer to have my shop on Shopify because it's perhaps easier to manage for some people than WooCommerce. Some people prefer WooCommerce or the BigCommerce or Shopify. Here you can have both. You can have your shop on Shopify and your content on WordPress. You take the data and you have a unified and beautiful website. And that's what now we are planning to build e-commerce themes. And so we will do it for WooCommerce, Shopify, and BigCommerce.
I love that idea of merging different databases, different platforms all together into one.
Totally, or you can have even things on Airtable, on Google Sheets, whatever has an API. You can get this data and mix all that together. So yes,
when you're a nerd, that sounds like fun.
You can have data from two WordPress sites too, or at the opposite, you can have one backend. For example, imagine you are a blogger and you have several blogs. You can have all of them in the same WordPress back office. You can set up different categories and say, okay, this go to this blog, this to another. You can make a mobile app, of course. You can send data from your WordPress, I don't know, to Facebook, to Amazon. You can make really digital experiences very flexible. You are no more limited by the WordPress ecosystem.
Yeah. So are there any drawbacks? I mean, so are you able to... Now, when you log into WordPress, so you have a headless. Let's say you have a headless setup, and your front end is Gatsby, whatever, and you still log in normally. You'll have like a place, an admin, where you go and create your content and stuff in WordPress, and it's just going to send that. What about you? Do you have any way to integrate? So WordPress has a huge ecosystem of plugins, like over 50,000 plugins have been developed over the years. Are you able to leverage those through this, or is that lost and you have to build everything?
Yes, that's a drawback. Well, for the people who want to use these plugins, so all the plugins that are creating front end, of course, they will not work. And the other ones that are more for back end, they need to have API. But now there is more and more work. The people with WP GraphQL are creating WP GraphQL plugins. So, for example, one plugin I use a lot, it's ACF.
Oh, right. Okay.
And we have created a Gatsby plugin for contact from 7. So in our themes, you can create a contact from 7 in WordPress and have it working in Gatsby.
Oh, very nice. Two of my favorite plugins right there, ACF
yes. And there is more,
7.
but I think the principal ones will be ported to GraphQL. And as soon as we have the data in GraphQL, we can build it in Gatsby, we can build it in Next.js, we can in any JavaScript framework. But yes, if we talk about builders, you can use it, but it's not the ideal things because you just get the HTML. For example, I saw a video about Elementor, but okay, it's not the best way of building. We prefer to have the data to create React components. That's really better. And also, yes, the developer experience is better because nowadays most people prefer developing in React and JavaScript and PHP. So and it's the future now. People who begin in web development, they learn JavaScript, some other Python, but not a lot of people. You don't have bootcamps for PHP, for example. And so in the future, to find a a team to maintain your application, your website, you will easily find good developers in JavaScript than in WordPress. So in WordPress, yes, we have Codeable. I am part of Codeable too. So there you have good WordPress developers, but often you find people that want to be developers, but they are just implementers. And if they are nothing against implementers, I have begin like that. But some agencies sometimes says, "Oh, I'm going to build your website," and they put tons of plugins and things, and then the website looks nice, but it runs super slowly. I have built websites like that. So if you want serious WordPress developers, there is not so much good people finally. And that's why Codeable is very successful, because you are sure to find quality developers. While in JavaScript and React, it's the future, so everybody goes there.
I mean, I don't think PHP is going away anytime soon.
No,
but
of course.
It's going to be, but for me, running an agency, I'm always looking forward to what's our next thing, and the first thing is to catch up with WordPress. Now I get the full site editing and all that stuff with blocks, and but I have been thinking about headless for years. Ever since I first heard the term, I'm like, that sounds really awesome. But I know about Gatsby, I know about React. I've worked a little bit in like Angular and stuff, and but I see a lot of potential there as well. That's something we can help with. We work with a number of those sites, but I want to be able to build stuff from scratch too someday on that stuff too. So or outsource it.
We have to talk offline about that.
Yeah, I think so. Because we never know. I mean, who knows what 2022 is going to bring? So we may. It's interesting how my agency's developed. I'm doing things today I couldn't have dreamed I was doing 3 years ago. So who knows? In 3 years, maybe we're doing all headless.
Same. Yes.
You never know. But speaking of that, I mean, you kind of touched on this already. I mean, this kind of like you're on the front lines, moving this line forward in terms of talking and using headless setups and working like that, working with React and Gatsby and stuff. I mean, this is do you see this as kind of like the future of WordPress? Eventually, are we just going to all be using that? Or because there's this situation where the average person, one of the really valuable things about WordPress is it's easy for anyone to get started.
Yes. Myself, I have started and stretched myself and begin as a freelancer thanks to WordPress. Because beginning with JavaScript, it's much more complicated. But thanks to that, I've been able to work immediately and learn on the fly and grow.
Well, even a business can be like, okay, I can buy a WordPress theme, I can install WordPress if they can figure that out. They can kind of get themselves something up and install some random plugins and be good to go. But I'm wondering if like in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years down the road, if there will be some workflow where it does make it easier for even the average person to build sites like this using Gatsby or whatever. I'm curious if there's going to be some like innovation there in terms of because the do-it-yourself crowd's still out there, or are they just always going to just build things and they'll just rely on us, the agency, or yourself to build the fancier stuff?
I believe it will. What I believe it's. For the moment, the average person will use WordPress themes. If it's a small business, something like that, they will not call me to build the Gatsby theme.
Yeah.
And our actual themes are easy to use because you don't need coding, but you have to install Node, you have to install GitHub, you have to install Gatsby, you have to write in the console, even if it's copy-paste. So some people are afraid of that. So for the moment, I don't think it's for everybody. It's more for developers, agencies. Well, I'm super happy if anybody can do it, and it's doable if you have made a really step-by-step documentation to also make it clear for people who are not developers and want to do that themselves. But what we see in our clients, they are mostly developers. But what I believe is that in the future, other people will develop more themes, but we are front end, so we are not doing solution to make things easier. But other people are with other skills, I think, will develop solutions to install the Gatsby theme from the WordPress backend, and we have already some options, some widgets and things that work from the WordPress backend, but you need to do other things on your computer.
Yeah.
I think there will be solution to make it easier, and then anybody would be able to use a Gatsby themes or another framework. I say Gatsby as a themes API, but you can do a starter with Next.js too, and install it on WordPress. I think that will come in the future.
We want it to be, to cut you out, we don't want it to be push button. So we install Gatsby, we push a button, and it sets up WordPress over here and gets everything set up behind the scenes.
Yes,
and,
I think that will happen. We are just the first one to make, not the first one to make themes, even Gatsby WordPress themes, but to make premium ones, and to really want to continue with that. But there will be obviously more people, and perhaps one day this market will be crowded too. I think that will happen, and we will make other solutions. But yes, they will need us agencies and freelancers, because like with WordPress, we have ton of themes and plugins. But for example, myself as developer, I was only working on custom theme development. I was not using Prevail theme because it's not what I like to do. So I was specialized in really high-end websites with beautiful designs, really crafted, not something pre-made.
Yeah.
So that's not a problem for agencies.
Yeah. And I mean, right now, I'm sure you're either going to be enterprise or you're going to have want to really invest in your website theme and care about your traffic, your speed, and all that stuff.
That.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love the topic. I love talking about this. We could continue to go on for hours here, but we probably shouldn't. We'll break this into another episode or something.
Yes.
Hopefully, and we can have you back. But I'm excited. It's great what you're doing. I am interested. This is something that I want to do as well, or offer to clients as an option. I have actually one client in mind. As we're talking here this whole time, I want to send an email out and say, have we thought about doing this? Because they have a Shopify site and their speed is in the tank. It's like a D. But it's not good. And we've tried to speed it up, but it comes down to redesign and or focusing on extensions and stuff and what they can get rid of. And so it's a challenge, but this is an option I could present them, and so it's good to have options.
I know they have totally rebuilt the Gatsby source Shopify, and I think it's really good. And I think they have webinars about that on Gatsby. So you should look, and we should talk if you need help.
Yes,
super happy.
Yes. Fun. All right. Well, it was great having you.
Yes.
If anybody needs to find you, or they want to find you on Twitter or wherever, or your website.
Yes, Twitter, our website, Gatsby WP Themes. And if they subscribe, they can have our free themes. And I make the last episode on Learn with Jason, where I show to Jason how it works, etc. So it's a perfect way to get your feet wet with the themes. My personal website, alexandraspalato.com, and my website agency is not built for the moment. will be named webstomply.com, but it doesn't exist. I have to find the time.
And you will. So we have next time you're on, maybe we'll talk about your awesome agency and well that's
Yes, that's an idea.
after you launch it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, great. Great having you. Until we meet
It was
again.
great. Thank you.
Right.
Bye.
Bye. That's all for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed that. Again, please subscribe if you haven't already and give us a thumbs up if we deserve it. If you want to comment on this podcast or provide me with requests on topics for future episodes, please find your way to thebuilders.fm. You can contact me there or add a comment under these show notes. Now a word from our sponsor, Unified Web Design. That's my agency. We build custom websites, features, we maintain websites, we work with agencies to fulfill their web design and development needs, and more. If you're interested in our services or are looking for an agency to work with as a partner to build awesome sites for your clients, feel free to reach out to me at unifiedwebdesign.com. There's a handy contact me link at the top. Fill out that form and it will open a ticket, and that ticket will find its way to me. Thanks for joining me today. We'll see you next time.